Hello, welcome back to my channel. I am back in Belgium after having been away for nearly 4 months, 3 months in Sydney, then 2.5 weeks in Bali, which has been a crazy adventure to be honest, and I'm pretty glad to be back to a certain routine. Today, I really wanted to chat with you about my hormonal journey as a model because I feel it's not talked about enough and it is a topic that is very near to my heart. So without any further ado, I will leave you guys with the recording I made 2 days ago. Enjoy! As you might have seen, I was in Bali right before coming back here, so you can watch it right here. I'm not gonna lie to you, it's been a bit hard for me to be back in Europe as I know that my happy place is in Sydney. Anyway, so I'm taking the time off to obviously focus on my personal projects and reflect. And also, I just feel that I have this purpose and this passion of sharing my experiences and sharing what I've learned and sharing my mindset as well. And so today, what I wanted to talk about is hormones. I actually was listening to a podcast earlier today. It's model Sana Vloot. I don't know if you know her. I'll put her channel right here. She's a bit older than me. I think she's in her 30s. She now has a matcha brand with her husband, and she also has an app, a fitness app called Soul Sync Body. And she was on Gracie Norton's podcast. I will link everything down below. And she was basically explaining how before getting into modeling, she had a very intuitive approach to wellness and to being active and being healthy and food and stuff. And then once she got into the modeling industry, obviously because the standards need to be pretty extreme, it put her in a negative mindset toward her body, food and exercise and all these things and wellness in general. And so she came to the conclusion after a few years being in the industry that she was nearly burnt out and in a depression, and that, yeah, it was just not working for her body. And then she also mentions the fact that she hadn't had a period in 3 years. And I truly think that menstruation and a cycle is really not talked about in the modeling industry. Most models I meet don't have a regular cycle at all or don't have a cycle. And I'm one of these. So that's why I'm sharing. I'm not coming from the perspective of, oh, I want to teach you anything. No. But I just want to be aware of what is happening and then also implement changes, because in the end, it is my life, it is my body. I want to be fertile, I want to be a mom one day, I want to feel healthy, I want to have a thriving body, I want to have, I truly believe that a hormonal cycle throughout the month is the biggest indicator for health in women. And so when it's either irregular or absent, well, that is just your body also saying, hey, we need to change something, right? Like any other symptom. I think I'm just gonna share my personal story with it. Also gonna touch on going on the pill and why I truly don't believe that is the solution, and the side effects that it can have, and then eventually how everything is intertwined. So you cannot only focus on food or only focus on exercise, because it's a holistic thing as well. Firstly, my story. As you know, I was diagnosed with anorexia when I was 15. I hadn't had a regular period for not even a few months before I lost it completely after losing more than 10 kg in a span of 3 months, and also over exercising by a lot and putting a lot of mental strain and stress on my body. I wasn't worried about it in the first place. I was just like, oh, actually, that's great. I don't have to think about it. All these girls in my class, they all struggle with their periods and they have their tampons and whatever. I felt more of a woman because I didn't have it, which is totally false. So after, I think, like 4 months or so, I talked about it with my mom. And I said, hey, I think there's an issue. we went to the doctor and they just advised me to go on the pill. They were like, oh, well, yeah, that happens. Whilst you lost some weight, indeed, like my doctor saw it, and he actually advised me to address the eating disorder as well. So it was not all wrong. But he also told me, yeah, get on the pill. So you're gonna preserve your muscles and preserve your bones and get some kind of estrogen and progesterone in. Which I did. In the first 6 months being on the pill, I had no cycle at all, even though I was on the pill. So that was abnormal, obviously. But also putting it back in context, I was so underweight. I was maybe like 48 kg or like 50 kg for my heights. It's very low. So yeah, I was struggling. It's very funny because I always knew I had some kind of connection with Australia. The first time I went to Australia when I was 18, I was on a family trip there on a holiday, and I had my cycle back, my fake cycle, obviously, as I was on the pill, but it started bleeding. So I guess that was the first time that I was kind of happy to have some kind of fake period again. Being on the pill, at first I didn't feel like I was having a lot of symptoms. But then I got into a relationship with my ex-boyfriend, and I just felt kind of numb all the time. I was always feeling pretty neutral. So I would never feel very happy. I would never feel very sad or very angry. It would always be, yeah, okay, I deal with it. So life is okay. But life was gray, literally. I feel like that whole period of my life was just so bland. And now, knowing myself so much and being off the pill for a long period of time, I just know that I have so many colors and so many emotions, and I'm such a sensitive being that looking back on it, I was like, holy moly, like I was literally not feeling anything. I had no libido whatsoever, and I had brain fog, so much brain fog. I realize it now because I was studying acting back then. I would just never be able to tap into the deeper layer of the emotion that I needed to feel because I felt like I didn't have the energy to get there. And it felt actually very frustrating because I knew that I had it in me, but somehow I couldn't access it. Fast forward to 2022. I started learning a lot about the issues of not having a regular cycle, and I was trying to get it back. So I had a nutritionist, I had a coach for a while, was helping with hormones and stuff, and she was mentioning weight gain and not doing that intense exercise anymore and blah, 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 which can be part of the solution. But I think that mainly focusing on those two aspects is nearly not enough. I think I made a good decision in September 2022, right after my birthday, actually. I was still with my ex-boyfriend, but I was like, I don't want to take the burden of having that pill medication in my body anymore. I want to stop. But the issue was that I was still with my boyfriend, so as he was not very progressive, the contraception issue fell onto me. And so the only other solution that I would find back then was getting on the copper IUD. Guys, the most painful experience in my life. Really. Like, I knew that I already had some kind of fear of going to the gynecologist and having tests done, because that was also one of the symptoms, actually, is that I had a lot of pain during sexual activity. A lot of pain. And as I had no libido, I had no lubrication, it just hurt so much. So that was only the first part of the pain. But then the second part of actually inserting without any anesthesia, and then the bleeding afterwards and the cramps. Guys, I felt like I was gonna faint. Not scaring you if you want to get on the copper IUD. I know that some girls really don't feel a pain at all, and good on you, but for me it was terrible. When I put it in, I already regretted it, because I just felt like that was an intrusion to my body and to my true self. So the copper IUD was even worse in terms of symptoms than the pill. So I started feeling so puffy. It was not me. I felt like I was just so inflamed. And then going back to Australia for the second time, I somehow had a period. I don't know why, maybe because I was able to relax a little bit more in Australia. Kind of a reminder to the first time. But I literally was bleeding out. Like, it was so weird. In the past, I was on the pill, I always had a very light bleed. And there, it was just, it was not normal. After I woke up with him, I immediately took the IUD out. And now it's been more than 3 years that I'm not on any contraception. Although, yes, it is hard to address your emotions. It is hard to feel them. It is hard to go through the waves. And it is also hard to address the holistic point of view of why I don't have a period and why I don't want to feel feminine, basically. It is about feeling safe. So you can feel safe through eating enough and regularly and enough protein and all these things that I do implement and that Stan Vloed was talking about in the podcast. But then also they talk about the stress aspect of things. And what is actually stress? Stress is also the mental dialogue that you have with yourself and how you see yourself. And I was just not seeing myself as someone who could be soft and someone who could relax and someone who could accept to be nurtured for and to let nature live in me and allow myself to be vulnerable. Working with my holistic coach on truly aligning back to my authentic self with all these aspects as well, instead of being in that survival and that hyper productive and perfectionist mode all the time, which doesn't allow me to actually tap into what I call feminine energy, but call it whatever you want, like just the more of the soft aspects of myself. I would never then be able to relax enough and let go of that mental strain in order to get a period back. Coming back to the modeling part, our industry is not focusing at all on integrating those cycles into the day-to-day. The traveling, the jet lag, the last minute plans. Sometimes crazy physical demands. I mean, not all the jobs. I love my job. But some days you feel emotional and some days you don't feel in the best mood and some days you might feel incredible and some days you feel tired. And it is kind of expected of us to always be at 100% in terms of physical appearance, in terms of energy, in terms of how your body looks, showing up all the time as being quote-unquote perfect, and that is not a reality. And so I understand Stan Vloed for actually stepping back from it, asking herself of what wellness and what feeling good actually means to her, instead of just following what the standards in the industry are putting on us as the goal. Because in my opinion, it's just not sustainable at all. I truly believe as well that the more you are aligned with yourself and the more you tap into that version of yourself who can allow rest and allow that flow and that creativity to be present, the more you're gonna shine on the jobs, and you're also gonna look so much better, guys, to be honest. My skin is incredible. My hair is so blonde, so long. My nails are growing. I have no eczema anymore. I have no brain fog anymore. I am so much more energetic. I have muscle. I'm thriving so much more. I know that I don't have a size 000 anymore because that is a kid size and I am not a kid anymore, right? And it is just not realistic. Trying to break the taboo around not having a period and how detrimental it is to our health and even society can really make a difference. I know that it's not only a modeling issue. I really believe that social media and the beauty standards are not helping at all. and that a lot of girls struggle from not having a period or not having a regular period. There's PCOS and hypothalamic amenorrhea, which is what I was suffering from and I am still going through. But I don't want to identify to any label, and I truly don't believe that you should neither, because everything is reversible and it just depends on how do you want to feel and how bad do you want to feel good and do you want to feel better, because what you're going through right now is just you being in a shell of yourself. It can be so much better than this. I hope that you took some value out of it. Yeah, it doesn't need to be taboo anymore. Like, just let's talk about periods, right?